The online video gaming industry is estimated at over $250 billion annually. The Top Gun and Maverick movies, they made a combined worldwide gross of 1.85 billion so far and counting. A single F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet costs about 73 million. And this U.S. Marine Corps F-35B that can manage those short takeoffs and vertical landings, well, they're about 109 million each. Heck, the cost of a fighter jet helmet alone, at last count that I could find, is $400,000 with its full helmet mounted display. Now, why am I telling you this? Just imagine the fun of actually being able to merge all of these factors and what it would feel like if you could experience the thrill of being one of those United States of America fighter pilots. Not in real life, though maybe you're braver than me to accept that challenge, but in a gaming scenario. Now you can. So please say hello to my guest today, Tim Monk Miller, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps retire, who is the founder and CEO of Strike Fighter League, along with a few other things as well. So welcome, Tim.
Well, it's great to be here, Diane. I'm excited to talk with you, and I need to bring you to some of my pitches. You hit a lot of the wave top items that we like to bring up when we tell people about the SFL and where it's going. Very
Well,
happy to be here.
well, for, let's see, the past 30 years and counting, I've worked with over 400 CEOs and been the spokesperson at over 10,000 investor meetings on their behalf. So that was my job. Get the message right and bring the money home.
Still killing it. Still killing it.
I'm trying, but I'm so fascinated with this, what you're doing, because, we both know Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Moran, USMC, retired. And when I got to go to his retirement and have that F-35 fly overhead as you're standing on the runway and watching that thing come down, hover, turn, it's beyond awesome. I mean, fighter pilots are, right up there with brain surgeons in my mind. And,
Yeah.
that's a area I would say few fit. It's a different breed to be able to do certain things. And when I first heard about what you were doing at Strike Fighter League, I'm like, where did an idea like this come from? And how the heck did you get it past the Department of Defense security clearance? Because I've worked with enough companies that had great ideas. We're about to bring it to market and we get like, oh, no. You're not selling that to anybody other than maybe us.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, one of the interesting things about the whole concept is that this world exists already. People are doing this right now and have been for, over 40 years. I mean, you think about I don't know if your algorithm picks it up, but occasionally you'll see that the original Nintendo Top Gun video game and how far we have come in the flight simulation world with modeling and sim and being able to, project the right aerodynamic forces and implement them in real time in flight with a motion sim. I mean, it is wild what goes on today in the immersive capability that technology allows. But this world has been growing and, a lot of people building it out of passion for aviation. The fighter kind of niche in that has exploded over the past few years. And there are literally thousands of fully formed squadrons out there that have flight schedules and different chains of command, and they do deployments and make deployment plaques, all in the digital space. So when I heard
I
and
did
learned
not
about
know
that,
this. I
right,
did
it's
not know that. Wow.
wild. And to even add to that, the barrier to entry, I would submit, is quite high because these aren't games where you can get onto an Xbox and play off out of the box. You need to get a server and find a group of individuals that you want to congregate with in a digital sense, and then learn with and fly with. And I mean, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that has gone into this emerging world, that when because there's a couple of guys on our team locked into it, it just seemed like a really cool way to keep the value structure and the place where we came from alive. So we wanted to kind of jump in and help out and improve and make cooler, whatever you want to call it. And the SFL kind of came out of that understanding that this world, which we've been in the real world sense through service, exists in a almost like a hobby plus. I mean, I hesitate to call it a hobby because it requires so much effort and attention and detail to, do what these folks are doing who've been doing it for quite a while.
Now, how would you define what Strike Fighter League is? This is two-part question. How would you define what it is, and how did you come to this? Like, do you do other things in your life?
Yeah. So how do I define what the SFL is, the Strike Fighter League? It is the time capsule that we wanted to build that is focused on the man in the box, human in the box. The man in the box is a phrase that we heard repeatedly as we were, training across our careers. I'm using the proverbial we because we have a team of former fighter pilots from a number of different countries that contribute to the SFL and have for quite a while. How do you tie off that focus on the human element? Because the nature of warfare is shifting from the human from a physical sense into the human from a cerebral sense. The load is much more on the cognitive load side than the physical and cognitive load side from how I remember coming up in a jet.
Mhm.
So there's like a very athletic nature to it. And it still is there today. It's just the way that it was before the ranges got so far away and things became a bit more autonomous and easier for the person employing the weapon system. We just remember it being a lot more fun. And I think it was more fun because you're more accountable for your physical actions. And there's a sport motif that's part of that. So the SFL, we have packaged foundational skill attributes in a very digestible format to try to bring the mainstream audience in and give them unprecedented access to these beautiful machines, and more importantly, the skill level that goes on in understanding how to operate them. I think it's beautiful. It's a huge part of my life. And to be able to do that in an entertainment focused way that can provide value in a current digital ecosystem, which is rife with a lot of trash, we thought that that was a really cool endeavor. And oh, by the way, there's a century plus worth of history that can get unpacked and retold and recreated along the way that brings these important things for any human, like resilience and accountability for your actions and being able to take constructive criticism. We will pull all of that out in the competition aspect of the SFL, and it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to work on it every day.
Oh my gosh, you gave me a little throwback. Take constructive criticism. I remember my kindergarten through like 4th grade report card. I'm
Yeah.
not satisfactory in taking constructive
It's
criticism.
hard. It's hard. It
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
And, now do you have teams? Is Strike Fighter League like a league of individuals, or is it teams that are working together?
Um, Currently, it is the individuals, right?
Okay.
We've had our first online tournament was back in April. We were crazy in that we went live broadcast right out the gate. Who does that? You don't do that. It's not smart. But you got to also move fast and break things to
It's how you
improve
learn.
at a rapid rate, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to shift
So
fast.
we did one in April. We have another one coming out in July, and we're still amassing our partners and resources a bit. In 2027, we'll launch the live professional series, which now is a in-person event that mixes the entertainment aspect of our competitive broadcast with almost like a tech convention coupled with an air show. 100 million people around the planet attend air shows every year. It is definitely a global endeavor, and it's not the easiest thing logistically to go and do. And we think we can provide more in-depth access through this type of structure where we're able to merge the physical and digital together, let people get hands-on, stick and throttle a bit more than they do at a traditional air show, and also adopt a little bit of that F1 or UFC vibe in terms of the competitive spectacle that we're able to present.
Wow. Now, has Tom Cruise called you yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
Has he signed up? I heard we know he flies. We know he wants to do those tricks himself. Does he want to get behind this and see how it relates to what he?
Well, he takes a little while to get to. So he would, you're right, though. He would be a prime ambassador for something like this. So
Yeah,
if you have any connections you can make, let me know. I'm happy to follow up on them.
I'm going to think about that one because
No,
I think that.
on a serious note, we're in discussions with agencies like CAA, which reps a number of
Mm-hmm,
the Top Gun franchise individuals. Um, um, So we're trying. We're moving
mm-hmm.
towards that type of ambassador because you're right to go to the mainstream. This product, if you want to call it that, is really for the mainstream individual who either loves fighter aviation or aviation in general already, or doesn't really know and is looking for a new way to engage with it. That's a bit more accessible.
Now, the people how are people finding you to sign up? Like, what is there a criteria to sign up? And when you said accepting criticism, are you critiquing these pilots, or what should we call them? Pilot players, player
Yeah.
pilots?
So I will make a distinction. When you
Okay.
say sign up, there is the competitive side, and we reach them through Discord, which is pretty vibrant in the DCS community.
Mhm.
Our website, obviously, www.thetacsfl.com or the-sfl.com. It's a great website. We just redid it, so you should check it out. It tells you more than you'd ever want to know about the SFL. That, though, is also a way in for the spectator or aviation fan. I'll throw it out there. We're going to eventually term the term aerosexual. We think it's a cool word, and it's just people who kind of love the whole world of aviation in general. Those folks can also sign up there and get updates. Our YouTube channel, subscribe to that for sure. We put out a bunch of slick content that shows past competitors, our new batch of Elite 8 that will be competing live on 25 July, and some of our partners. So we just pulled in Matt Hall. So his special is on there. He's a former Australian Hornet pilot and is a Red Bull Air Race champion from 2019, the last one we ran, who will be a guest analyst for OTS2. So taking a look at the competitors' runs, and you're asking about the debrief, we present this as a mainstream motorsport or mainstream sport, really. So there is an announcer desk, there is live statistical tracking, scores, and then analysis of the runs by former fighter pilots. So this all happens live in front of a live audience who's free to view on both YouTube Live as well as Twitch. And it's a lot of fun. And, the debrief constructive criticism is not always fun, but from a competitive presentation format, the right tact and dings and competing with pressure is hard, and sometimes you get called out on your actions, and that's okay. That's not the end of the world. You learn from those and move on and compete in the next tournament. That's
Mhm.
that's why it's fun.
Oh my gosh. Where how like, how does this is massive in a lot of ways because it has so many elements and components. How would you say this, like, came together? Like, how many people did you get involved here? Did you have to get certain clearance to be able to use air simulators, flying simulators of some form? Like, I'm trying
Yeah,
to visualize how this unfolded because it really is a massive undertaking in many
right.
ways.
Yeah. Well, I'll go a little bit into my background because it kind of ties into the story where it came from. So I similar to your nephew, I flew F-18s in the Marine Corps for a little over 22 years. Attended Top Gun back in 2009, as did Patrick. Had the privilege of commanding a fighter squadron here in Beaufort, which is where I live. Took them all over the world and actually to Saudi Arabia right at the tail end of my career for a combat deployment in support of enduring freedom. Um, so when I stopped my career, went back to business school and started in defense work with focused on training and training systems architecture, and was just actually watching Gran Turismo, the movie, which Diane, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
the concept I'm describing with airplanes,
Mhm.
fighter jets, but just a little bit in reverse, where, the digital space ends up competing in the physical space. I don't think we'll ever get to that point, but if we can build a centrifuge or a real slick motion sim, maybe we'll get super close. But nonetheless, the idea of hey, training systems are evolving. There's a way to do this in a operationally secure manner. I'll touch on that in a second because you've mentioned it 2 times now, and have a lot of fun with it because it's cool to watch people compete. And in this world of it's pretty rare to get both uh, a live event and competitive rule set that is already understood by a large number of people, which fighter aviation is, and it's global. It seemed like a smart thing to pursue. So we built it out. I assembled a number of core team members and then a advisory body that is built of fighter pilots from a number of different countries, military simulation experts, both in the commercial space and the defense space, and then entertainment industry experts, because we knew we wanted to be able to present it much more like a prize fight than like a military reconstruction, right? Like way more entertainment
Mhm.
value and spectacle. Um, the environments that are out there, and we build nothing, by the way, in terms of, I shouldn't say it that way. The existing products in the commercial space are all built and mature and integrated. So, what do I mean by that? The environment you would operate in digitally is a physics based model. They're
Right.
open source, they're not classified, they're used for entertainment purposes. These are things like Microsoft Flight Sim,
Mhm.
Eagle Dynamics Digital Combat Simulator. That is the engine that we're running in now, and they're fantastic. And there's a number of other ones. There's also a ton of them on the defense side that are not focused on the commercial sense. But if they got a sniff that something in the commercial sense was of value, it's an extremely easy pivot because it's just a physics based model, right? Like those things are not too different from one another. Same thing on the hardware side. So the headsets, the motion simulators, the cockpit builds, those are available. They're available for entertainment or commercial and defense purposes. Nothing is classified about those pieces of hardware or software. If you get nuanced models in there, now you can go to different classification levels. Our competition, though, um, the foundational aspects are almost um, like foundational physical things you would have to do. So low level flying and navigation, being able to effectively hit a target on the ground in an unguided ordnance scenario. So dumb bombs or gravity guided bombs rockets, which is just a forward-firing piece of ordnance, and bullets. And then our dogfighting setup is the same. It's just gravity-guided munitions, so there really is no classification concerns. And we also go backwards looking. We're not like cutting edge simulation where an F-35 is going toe to toe with some new Chinese fighter, right? We're
Mhm.
Gulf War and back because of that human in the box, more athletic focus. And that's how our events have been constructed. And we intend to go further back. This gets at the history aspect into the Warbird era. Bit heavier controls, different way to fight it, different way to employ it, but all still extremely interesting. And people wield those machines in the digital space with a high level of expertise, and we want to let them compete. So that's where it came from, and that's a little bit about the team construct. This probably occurred over, we've been building for about 3 years now. So the first year was idea iteration. Second year was, okay, this is a thing. Let's build the team, formalize a little bit of communication infrastructure, and then the foundational pillars of any business. And then this last year has been operational execution, all still in the, startup. We're seed phase of our company life cycle. And that's where we are now.
What's your big picture on this?
So we intend to continue to provide free viewing
Mhm.
to attain sponsors. Our sponsorship discussions are going great right now. We expect a larger turnout for OTS2. We've done a traditional media push, or I should say PR push with ID, the PR firm. So we've gone out on PR Newswire. We've been in the Wrap, Yahoo Sports, General Aviation. So we're hitting more of that mainstream strata for visibility, and that should show us the stickiness, or the ability to get viewers from more of a mainstream audience. That will lead, those metrics will lead into our seed round raise, which will be following our tournament end of July. And we intend to go into 27 with that wrapped up, and we move into the physical live professional series and arena type format, which really differentiates us, right? Like the online tournament that we're running now is compelling. It shows beautiful airframes in competition. The live professional series, though, is a different level of sporting event that crosses a bunch of different really cool industries: tech, live sports, entertainment, and the fighter aviation genre. Like there's nothing out there that pulls all of those together for a digital first audience like the SFL does.
Now, have you had anybody who's got no flight experience whatsoever try to sign up to be a competitor?
When you say no flight experience,
I mean, I've
they,
had crashes, but I've never been the person.
yeah,
I've had 4 of those
yeah,
in little planes, but I was never the pilot.
yeah.
You
You you will not do well. You won't. Our qualification process is multi-step. It
Okay.
takes a whittling down to get to the top 8. So you can by all means submit applications, and we are not, providing training on flying a Hornet. There's tons of other ways to get involved in that. I said Hornet or Viper. So our current competition is F-18 and F-16, 2 fighters that are very mainstream recognizable. So those were chosen on purpose. They're also a lot of fun to compete.
Mhm.
So anyway, it's not for the person off the street, right? They'd have to have some exposure to either DCS or flying an F-16 or F-18 in the digital or physical space. But I will say this: how interesting would it be to see a digital only 40-year flight veteran who just knows exactly how the environment works and the nuance for this specific craft, because it's not the same craft as flying an actual aircraft. It's a slightly
Right.
different thing, right? But we're competing under those conditions. But how interesting would it be to have that individual wax Patrick in an F-18? I wouldn't say me. I'll say Patrick instead of me. But, a former Top Gun trained pilot, right? Like that is an interesting human story that just shows you the convergence of digital, physical, and all these crazy tools that we have available and continue to get rolled out at an unprecedented pace.
I'd have to see that to believe it could actually possibly happen, knowing just a tiny little pinky fingernail of what you guys go through and, been around you enough to know you're a different breed. So my hat's
Right,
off to you on that if I had a hat on.
right.
But so I don't really see that happening, but, you know, there's always wild cards in life and they're fun to watch. So I'm curious, considering wild cards and where you're going, have you heard from Dave Portnoy yet?
Not yet, but one of his
Isn't that
guys is a big flyer, and we're trying to get
yeah.
on his radar. Yep, for sure.
Mhm.
It's wild the whole having worn a flight suit for 23 years and maybe posted a picture or two on Instagram here and there, getting into the whole influencer and social media, and like we were talking about before we started recording, the attention analytics has been a eye-opening experience. Wild world out there, super interesting. But I kind of lump all that stuff together. I shouldn't, but you know what I mean. Figuring out which influencer or which opinion out in the community gets you a big return on investment or interaction.
Well, I've been in PR hiring firms, probably hired over 200 and owned a firm that I sold to a publicly traded bank after 18 years. And I can tell you this, there
Good for
is
you.
no pattern. There's no pattern. You can you can do PR for 6 months and you could be working your butt off and all of a sudden something hits that the thing you almost say, how the heck did that make this take off?
Yeah.
And then there's other things that are obvious. You get a
Right.
placement on, Live at 5 or, Jim Cramer mentions your company. It's so varied.
Right. Right.
We worked with a we worked why I asked about the top secret clearance stuff is we worked with a company, Juliet Marine, a few years ago. After the Somalian pirates had taken over the naval ship, this guy created a stealth ship that used the Venturi system to float above the water.
Hmm.
Completely
Wow.
undetectable. The Navy was totally behind this. Un um, Avalon Ventures was the venture fund, got fully behind it, and one day I get a call from Kevin Kinsella, who was the head of Avalon Ventures, and he said, "Listen, I hear you're kinda good at PR, can you take a flight with me tomorrow? We're gonna go up to Rhode Island and see this guy, Greg Sankoff. He built this ship. You have to see it because now the Navy said you cannot sell this to anyone, to anyone. And we may not be buying, but it cannot exist."
Oh no. Yikes.
So we had the wildest thing. I go up there, I see this thing, take a ride in it. It's in this old abandoned Navy yard. I mean, nothing like I've ever seen in my life. And
Wow.
so 2 weeks later, we put an article out. It gets picked up. Fox, Bloomberg covers the whole story, becomes the biggest article that Bloomberg magazine had ever done, Bloomberg Business Week. Then it gets picked up by Yahoo. And by that Monday, that was a Friday afternoon, by that Monday, I had every senator you can think of calling saying, turn off the freaking spigot. Just turn it off. We're going to meet with them. We'll talk to them. You're giving us bad press.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And it totally changed the discussion. So I can only say this to you, Tim. You never know when it's going to hit.
Right. Right. I mean, 100%. It could be. It's usually the one that you're like, what? That's what I see with our tests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
You know?
Um, I got one more interesting aspect that I didn't talk about earlier with the SFL that we're very focused on, which is the heritage component. Um, and the filmmaking that we're doing in conjunction with our broadcast of our tournament. So the first one we did, we premiered 2 short films. There is a large content creator community inside of DCS, Digital Combat Sim,
Mhm.
that makes trailers and fictional reenactments or actual historical reenactments. So we had 2 stories that we earmarked, and we have exclusive access to the Dogfights series archive, which was the History Channel's highest rated series ever, by the way. Um,
Wow.
so remaking some of these engagements in this new environment with historical scripts and audio, radio communications is what we're doing. So we had 2 of those. One was Operation Bolo, who is Robin Olds, famous Air Force pilot from back in the Vietnam era. And that one's called Ambush. And the other one was about Philip Hanley, who has the world's only recorded supersonic guns kill. Both were F4 focused, Vietnam era focused, but fantastic, very artistic videos, films that give viewers an unprecedented look at actually what is going on in the cockpit with switches and hands and head movements that you would not be able to get anywhere else. And it's not, the coolest part is it's not CGI. There are humans operating these machines in the digital space who get a script, they brief, they go out and execute, it gets recorded and choreographed like any other film that's made, and then the creator cuts all this stuff together with different camera angles in the digital space to produce the final product. So it's this really cool mix of new way to make, to create, but also the ties to the historical lineage and accurate storytelling, so these things can exist and get dusted off and shown to a whole new crop of people, I think is really cool. And it's been a lot of fun, super professional community.
Oh my gosh. The time for these episodes always goes way, way, way too fast. Any parting words on what everyone should know about what you're doing at Strike Fighter League?
Do not miss it. July 25th at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern. It's free to watch. It'll have some fantastic storytelling, both old, and you'll meet a whole fresh batch of 8 competitors from around the globe: Brazil, Germany, the US, Canada, UK. I mean, their competitors are from everywhere. So tune in and check it out and watch where we're going. Diane, I appreciate your time. Sorry if I
And
talk too
that's one
much.
thing we have to say. We have to watch where you're going because these are evergreen episodes. So you're going to have other events planned in the future, right, Tim?
That's right. Yep. We'll do one online tournament every quarter from now on. And then
Okay.
our live professional series, like I said earlier, starts in 2027. And as soon as those dates solidify, they'll be front and center on all of our materials. So keep an eye out.
Very cool. Okay, everybody, I'm Diane Griesel. This has been the Silver Expedience Perception Dynamics podcast, and I've been talking with Tim Monk Miller. We never got to the monk part, but oh, that's a bummer. But you're just going to maybe have to tune in again or pay attention because I bet if you followed Tim Miller and followed him on LinkedIn or wherever he's going to share or Strike Fighter League, you'll find out a little bit more to that story. So I encourage you to follow him. I encourage you to follow Strike Fighter League, hit subscribe to this show, share it with your friends, and pay attention to what's going on with this show and what's happening with Tim and his cohorts because it's pretty exciting stuff. Thanks a lot, Tim. We're moving over to the green room.
Th-
Everybody, hit subscribe, follow those links below.